It's the most depressing time of the year. So with the holiday season now in full swing, that means two things. One, we're completely inundated by holiday movies and TV specials. And two, crippling anxiety and depression. Just me? Okay. There's so many things I could talk about. Like how It's a Wonderful Life is kind of narcissistic when you break it down, or how the white and white Christmas isn't exactly referring to the snow. I'm sure there's something else from Lifetime I could talk about. I got it! Wait, stop. So for those of you who are still here, yes, The West Wing does have a Christmas episode. And by that, it takes place during Christmas, so it counts in my mind. So today we're going to take a dive into the Season 2 episode Noël, which focuses on the trauma Deputy Chief of Staff Josh Lyman endures following being wounded in an assassination attempt. This is a genuinely difficult episode to get through, not only because of its intense subject matter, but combined with Aaron Sorkin's writing and an excellent performance by Bradley Whitford, it really shows how difficult it is to live with untreated trauma and how it affects you and others around you. So it's Christmas Eve, and we open with Josh attending a therapy session with Stanley and a woman training to be a trauma specialist who are brought in to help Josh work through his trauma. But right off the bat, Stanley notices that Josh has wrapped his hand after cutting himself putting down a glass. Now, Josh's character has always been kind of an ass throughout the series and reams Stanley for the assumption that he would not know who Atva was, the organization that Stanley represents. But in spite of character flaws, Josh is a brilliant tacticianer. He quickly notices that the woman who's there training to be a trauma specialist is not there to train to be a trauma specialist. She's there in order to make sure Josh does not harm himself or anyone else. Reading people and trying to figure out who's lying is going to be a major theme of this episode because both Josh and Stanley believe that they're lying to each other. With Stanley believing Josh didn't injure himself in the manner described, and Josh not believing Stanley is there to assist with his trauma. And we're told that the reason Stanley's here is because of some incident involving Josh in the Oval Office that caused a serious amount of concern among members of senior staff. All we know is that an event surrounding an unnamed pilot has somehow seriously affected Josh. Now, for those of you unaware, this is a very common tactic Aaron Sorkin uses in his writing, especially in The West Wing. Tell, don't show. Cut back to 3 weeks earlier and we see Josh talking to communications director Toby, who has brought in a brass quintet to play in the lobby of the White House because...
I've been accused of not being in the proper spirit. I was called names, not this year.
Wow, it's almost like it's a reasonable expectation to assume that a Jewish man would not really be into the Christmas spirit. Because, he's Jewish. We find ourselves in the Situation Room where we're told that the aforementioned pilot has gone AWOL and that Josh has been tasked with looking into his personnel files, until Josh begins experiencing flashbacks to the night he cut his hand when someone knocks on the door behind him. And in the strangest coincidence imaginable, we find out that Josh and the pilot both have the same birthday. Because foreshadowing! But we find out that the pilot died by willingly crashing into the side of a mountain, adding to the theory that the pilot was not of a sound mind as initially believed. And now we have... bagpipes? Who honestly believes that having bagpipes play in the lobby of the White House is a good idea? As annoying as bagpipes can be in their own right, it particularly bothers Josh, who mistakes the music for sirens blaring in the background, leading to Josh snapping at staffers about the noise around him.
Would it be possible to hold the noise down out here? It's like a damn hockey game out here.
And now is where it all comes together. Compounded by all the trauma, the music, and the stress of the job, Josh unloads on the president and members of senior staff in the Oval Office over something he sees to be a bad political move. Josh doubles down on his half-assed story about how he cut his hand, but no matter what he tells Stanley, he doesn't believe him. Which, of course, does not believe in spite of his constant reliving of the events of the night he was shot. Now, music can be a very powerful thing in the minds of many people. It allows us to experience joy, happiness, and all kinds of other positive emotions. But for Josh, it triggers a series of intense flashbacks brought on by Bach's cello concerto.
I couldn't make it stop.
As Josh and Stanley argue back and forth, we begin to put these pieces together that have been alluded to throughout the entire episode. Josh very well may be suicidal due to his long-standing untreated trauma. In a fit of fear and panic, Josh smashes out a window in his apartment because of his failure to cope with his trauma, all while the music crescendos to an end, signaling the end of Josh's mental stability. And now instead of associating music with those positive emotions, Josh immediately associates music with the shooting. But in spite of all of this, we do get better. As time moves on, we learn to cope and deal with our traumas, whatever that may be, and it does get better. As we wrap up, we end with a story from Leo about a man trapped in a hole.
Then a friend walks by. Hey, Joe, it's me. Can you help me out? And the friend jumps in the hole. Our guy says, are you stupid? Now we're both down here. The friend says, yeah, but I've been down here before and I know the way out.
In which Leo follows up with, as long as I've got a job, you've got a job. In the final shot, we hear handbells in the background, but for the first time in this episode, Josh doesn't immediately panic at the sound of music. Josh is able to remain stable while the bells clang over police sirens in the background. Now, Josh is by no means cured, and he never will be, but right now, he's learning to cope, and that is one of the most important steps anyone with mental health issues can take. Let go of the past and try to move forward every day as best that we can. So that's Noël, an excellent episode from one of the best dramas of all time. The great thing about this episode is it really takes the time to build up to Josh's inevitable mental breakdown, and it manages to keep your attention while not being irresponsible in its message. This is one of the best portrayals of mental health issues, especially long-standing intense trauma, that I have personally seen, and I highly recommend that you all check it out. So that's going to do it for me. Let me know what you think down below. Leave a like, subscribe. I'm going to be back next week, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll do something. But until then, I will leave it at that and see y'all next time.